Okay, now boys and girls, in our story, Dear Primo, what did the two cousins do to each other, or for each other, or with each other, I should say? Yes? They wrote letters to each other, and those type of letters have a special name. Those are called friendly letters. And so that's what we're going to work on right now. We're going to work on friendly letters. And so friendly letters have very specific parts. Everybody's looking this way. They're looking up here. And so first, let's discuss the envelope. Everybody look here. So this is how to address an envelope. Madison, are you looking up here? So the first thing that's on our envelope is a return address, your address. You put your name, the street you live on with your house number, your city with a comma, the abbreviation for your state, and then your zip code. How many people know their full address? Well, lots of people. How many know with the zip code? Maybe a few people, not everyone. And then, so that's in the left corner of the envelope. It has to follow certain rules for the post office. Then in the right-hand corner, you have a stamp that you get from the post office. And then you have the address of the person that you're sending your letter to, your friendly letter to, right, Reese? Sit up straight, buddy. So you have the person's first and last name, the number of their house along with the street name, the city, with a comma, the abbreviation of the state, and then their zip code. All this is read by machines at the post office, and it helps it get where it wants to go, and it helps it get there pretty fast. Yes?
What are the abbreviations?
Oh, this MA, Baltimore, that's Maryland. Okay? IA is Iowa. Each state has an abbreviation. Indiana is IN. So every state in the United States has a two-letter abbreviation. So that is it. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is the friendly letter itself. Now, a friendly letter has several parts. First off, it has the date here in the corner. So in the upper right-hand side, you put the date that you're writing the letter. This letter was written July 25th, 2019. Then you have the greeting, where you write Dear, whoever you're writing to. This person is writing to Alexa. So it says Dear Alexa, with a comma. Okay, so you write Dear Alexa. Then you have like a little space, you have a space. And then boys and girls, this part of the letter is called the body of the letter. So we have a body. And we do an indent. An indent is like a little space, maybe 2 fingers. Go like this with your fingers. So you have a space that's about that much from the margin of your paper. And so you indent that paragraph. And so we have, and here we've got about 3 paragraphs here of the body. And I'm going to explain to you exactly how you might want to format your letter. Because there's kind of a format that you can follow to write a good, friendly letter. And then we have the closing of our friendly letter. That's where you sign it. We sign it with a closing. In this case, it is love, and then your signature, which is your name. So let's read this friendly letter. It says, Dear Alexa, how have you been? I hope your new puppy has learned to behave. Have you decided what to name him? Our family has been doing so well this summer. Our time has been filled with swimming, playing, having barbecues, and visiting family. My favorite part of summer so far was our camping trip to Yellowstone National Park. What have you been up to this summer? Any exciting trips or experiences? Did you get to go camping yet? When does school start for you? I hope to hear from you soon. Love, Tina Roberts. Okay, and here's the signature. That's the signature. Here's the closing. So we have a heading, which is the date, the greeting, the body, the closing, and the signature. Here's another one. We have our date. We have our greeting, dear grandma. Thank you for your letter last week. I'm glad to hear that you're feeling better. Have you been able to work in your garden again? I hope so, because I know you love your garden so much. I have just planted my garden. I planted tomatoes, carrots, and beets. They're just starting to sprout. What are you planning on planting? Or what are you planning on planting? From Jonas Brown, okay? From is also another way to close a letter. So, here's another one. We have a date, November 16th, 2020. Now, we don't write the word date. We don't need to write that. We just write the date. And we spell it out. We write the whole month. We write the whole month, okay, boys and girls? And then we write, dear whoever. This says, dear Christy. I saw your picture, newspaper, and read your article about taking care of goldfish. It's really neat that you own a pet store and know so much about caring for animals. This is something I'm interested in. Maybe someday I'll work with animals too. I have 4 pets, 1 cat, 1 dog, and 2 turtles. I have a question about my turtles, and when I saw your article in the newspaper, I thought you might be the right person to ask. One of my turtles isn't eating as much as he normally does. He begins to eat and then he turns away. My other turtle is eating heartily. I'm worried because the turtle that won't eat doesn't seem to move around as much as normal. What might be wrong? Can you please send me some advice about what to try? Sincerely, Pam Williams. Sincerely is another way to end a letter. Who's heard of that closing? Okay, that's very common closing. Now, the closing always has got a comma, and then your name goes below the closing. They're not on the same line. Now, here's how we do it, boys and girls. This is what you do. This will help you. You do your date. You do your greeting, dear whoever, comma. And then, the first paragraph, you give a greeting and ask them a question. You say, so you dear whoever, and then you say, how are you? You know, like they did here. Let's give an example. Let's go back to our example here. Here's like I saw your picture and read your article about taking care of goldfish. You could say, you know, whatever you want to say here, but you're kind of starting off by saying something nice to somebody. You can ask them a question. Then you can tell them about you and something new or interesting. That would be the second part of our letter, our third paragraph, our second paragraph. Then you can ask them a question they can answer in their letter back to you because you want to get a letter back. So it gives them something to answer. Like they did in this one, in the previous letter, because they asked about the what? The turtles. So that's what we're going to practice doing. We are going to write someone a letter. We're going to do these things. We're going to write a letter to someone. We're going to give a greeting and ask them a question. Generally, people ask how somebody is. We're going to tell them about you and something new or interesting that you're doing. And then you're going to ask them a question they can answer. And their letter back to you. Does anybody have some ideas about somebody they could write to? Ellie, who do you want to write to?
My friend Ivy.
And what questions might you ask Ivy?
If she's doing okay with her new baby brothers.
Oh, that's a good question. That is a good question you can ask her. And what new thing can you tell her that's new or interesting about you?
That I go back to St. John of Evangelist.
Oh yes, you could tell her you came back to St. John the Evangelist. Eli, who are you going to write to? Do you think?
Ryan, my friend that moved away.
Oh yes, you could write to him. And what are you going to tell him that's new and interesting?
That we have an update at our house.
You have a what at your house?
Update.
Oh, an update at your house. You could tell him about that update. And what thing would you ask him about?
Are you okay going
can write you back, right? Ryan can write you back. Then he'll have something to talk about. Who else has a good idea for a letter that they want to write to somebody? Somebody they want to write to. Isabella, who are you going to write to?
My cousin Victoria.
What are you going to write to Victoria?
How are you doing? I'm doing very fine. How are you doing in Chicago?
Yes, and what are you going to ask? What new and what interesting thing are you going to tell her about yourself?
That I'm really doing good in my new school, and I'm happy to meet new friends every day.
Yes, that's something new you can tell her. That's a good thing you can tell her. Lance,
My cousin Steven.
what are you going to tell Steven?
I got a new trampoline for my birthday. I was wondering if you can come over and vouch with me.
Yes, that's a good one. And then, what question are you going to ask Steven? Oh, you're going to ask him if he can come over, right? Yes. So, and remember you want to probably ask them a question up here, see how they are. So there's all sorts of cool things that you can write somebody in a letter. But remember you want to be able to tell them something, you want to be able to ask them something. You want to make sure that they have something they can respond to in your letter. Yes, Izzy.
My name is Cassidy.
And what are you going to tell Stephanie in your letter?
Cassidy.
Cassidy, sorry.
How's your going?
Awesome. And what interesting thing are you going to tell her about you?
That I'm doing good and
Think of something interesting that you've done that you could tell her. You could think about maybe something you did over the summer, something fun you've done recently. You know what? If you can't think of anything, you could tell her how you learned to draw a scary cat. That's interesting. I think it is anyhow, right, boys and girls? Those scary cats turned out really good. Reese, who are you gonna call? Who are you gonna write?
My cousin Colton.
Colton. Okay, and what are you gonna tell him?
How are you?
Okay, you're gonna ask him how he is. What are you gonna tell him about you? Oh, that's nice. And what other question are you gonna ask them? Because that could be here in the greeting where you ask them how they are. What other thing are you gonna ask them down here that they can write back to you about? What?
Are you okay?
Okay. I think maybe we could try to think of a little more than that, right? Maybe ask him something about what he's doing. Maybe something that you know that he's been up to that he could tell you about. Nina,
My cousin Lucy.
what are you going to ask Cousin Lucy?
How's your back bend going? She's been practicing her back bend for a long time.
Oh yeah, that would be something you could write down here, right? Ask her how her back bend is, how she's progressing on her back bend. That would be good for this part because then she could write you back about that. Up here, you can ask her just how she is. That's a good thing. Yes. Sophia.
My cousin Adam and Olivia, how they moved to Tampa.
Oh yes, that'd be a good question to ask.
How's life in Florida? And my question that is really burning in my head is have they been hit by any hurricanes?
Have they been what?
Because you know how Florida has been hit by a lot of
Oh yes, yes you
I
can
want
ask
to know
that.
if they're okay if they've been hit by any hurricanes.
Hurricanes, that would be an excellent question to ask. Amelia.
I want to write to my mom because she has to do a waiver now.
Yes, you can write to your mom. I bet you have a lot of questions for your mom. What questions do you have for your mom?
How is Elise Rose? And how are you?
Yes, those would be excellent questions. So boys and girls, here's what I have for you. I have special paper. As a matter of fact, I have two things I'm going to show you that I think you'll be excited about.
And below
One, this will be the writing paper. This is what it looks like. But what I'm going to leave up on the board for you, I'm going to leave this up So you can see what this looks like, where it says give a greeting and ask them a question, and then tell them about something you were interested, and then ask them a question they can answer in their letter back to you. So then you can remember what you're supposed to be writing. Or would you rather I put up one of the letters so you have an idea? What would you like, the letter or this?
How about for both?
I can't put both up because they're in one document.
Can we have a vote?
You can't have them both. Now, the other thing I have for you is we're gonna make an envelope, we're gonna make our own envelope. So we're gonna make an envelope for our letters.
Miss Renner, I've made an envelope before out of just a piece of paper without like any lines. I just fold a piece of paper and use some tape.
Yes, you can do that.
Yeah, I could easily do that.
Dear Mikey, how
Well, we'll see how they are.
How are you?
Be right back. So boys and girls,
What's my cousin's name?
what I'm going to do, what we'll do is we'll write the date so you can see the date so we get that right.
I'm about to get Hold on. In Mexico. This runner.
Now, boys and girls, it says on our letter, we have the date. Today's date is what? Who can tell me what today's date is?
Wednesday,
I'm
October.
asking somebody with their hand up. Beckett?
Wednesday, October 6th, 2021.
So what we're going to write is we are going to write October. Thank you, Beckett. We're going to write October 6th, comma, 2021. So, and then, everybody write that. And then, of course, when we're writing somebody a letter, we have to use our very best writing. And you guys have your words I use when I write book that might help you with words that you might be unfamiliar with, that you need help spelling. Yes.
I also don't know how to spell Victoria.
Okay, hold on. So that's what we're gonna start with. So let's start working on our letters. Everybody get that?